Hi, this is Erin Zimmerman, owner of Elephant Social, and welcome to ChatConnect, a web series where this season I will be speaking with some badass lady entrepreneurs who are here to basically rule the world. Today I'll be speaking with Lisa Carpenter. Lisa is a transformational life and nutrition coach who understands that it's not the systems, the doing, the food, the exercise, the degrees, the achievements, or the lack of trying that hold women back from feeling fulfilled and successful in their lives, businesses, or bodies. And without further ado, here I am, Erin Zimmerman, with Lisa Carpenter. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. What have you been up to?
Back from vacation. So last week was my first week back from vacation. So that's like the, reacclimatize myself week. And this week I'm on fire with a whole bunch of stuff that I'm working on. So
I love to hear that.
There's always something. So there's always something to be worked on.
Yes.
Never done.
And so when you were on vacation, I'll just start with that because first of all, the pictures looked great. Everything just seemed so fantastic. You were disconnected. How did you disconnect? How?
That's such a great question. So we went to a cabin at a place called Ruby Lake, which is up the Sunshine Coast. So I live in BC, Canada. And so, 20 minutes to an hour, we can really be in a totally different climate and environment. And so last year I'd gone to this cabin with some friends and they told me, oh yeah, it'll be fine. We've got internet and And I got there and I literally had no cell service, nothing. I had to get in my car and drive for 20 minutes to check in. So it created a certain amount of anxiety because I was like, I really can't work here. And there's people that, obviously I had booked client calls off, so I didn't have to talk to anybody that way. So, but what I found that week away was, I'd get in my car every morning and I'd go drive 10 minutes so I could check in with my Facebook groups, the groups that I facilitate. And everybody was taking care of themselves. Like they knew I was going on vacation. They were answering each other's questions and, I've built quite a thriving community. So they're on it. And I was like, wow, I really can take this time off and nobody's going to die. And the truth was I didn't have a choice. Like I didn't have a choice but to unplug. And I found that it was super refreshing. So I had anxiety about it, but that actually turned into, I got exactly what I needed. So, and I'm a big believer in that. We don't always get what we want, but we always get what we need. So this year we very consciously booked the same cabin. But I went knowing like I was going to be totally disconnected. So I'd let all my clients know that they could reach me, but I didn't know when I was going to get back to them because I wasn't going to get in my car every day. We had a boat this year. So, oddly enough, I'm able to get self-service in the middle of the lake. But I don't exactly want to, we're just wakeboarding right now, but, I'll answer your call or do my Facebook post. So I really, I checked in with people quite quickly. I got back to the ones who, needed me to get back to them. But again, when I say they needed me to get back to them, they knew that they didn't know when. And quite often clients reach out to me just because they need to get something off of their chest. And part of work that I do with clients is getting them used to and comfortable with reaching out and asking for help. So understanding
that's huge.
It's huge, right? It's part of that receiving. It's part of letting go of the BS around I should have it together. Mm-hmm. And I really pride myself on being that emotional wingman for people, but not making them codependent on me.
Right.
So there's a big difference, right? Learning to reach out and ask for help, but knowing that you may not get the answer you need, but it's not about that. We, when we actually talk about what's going on for us, we start to heal. So that was kind of my vacation. So I really, really was unplugged, and it was very refreshing. You recognize, or at least I recognized, how much time I spend needlessly surfing, how much wasted time there is in the day, and how much time I actually have to do all the things that I really want to do if I'm very intentful, is that a word? About how I want to do them. So, I get up in the morning. I like getting up early. I'd maybe do exercise, maybe would do some, journaling down on the dock, put my feet in the water, maybe, listen to my audiobook for a little bit, give myself that time, and just thinking, well, I can do this more in my own day-to-day life. Right. But what I find is I get on Facebook, I start scrolling, which the crazy part is I get on scrolling thinking, okay, I'm on my phone. Mm-hmm. So I don't really want to respond to my phone because it just takes too long. So I'm going to do it on my computer later. It's like, well, why am I looking now? Why not just log into my computer saying like something? I know. But saying like, I'm going to give myself an hour. I'm going to log on. I'm going to see what I see. I'm going to comment on that and then let it go, as opposed to surfing on my phone going, oh, I got to go back to that. I got to go back to that. I got to go back to that. It's like, pick it up, deal with it, and put it down. So recognizing how much time I actually do waste on social media and how much more time I have available for me in my day, if I can get just a little bit more streamlined about it, because I do want to be playing more.
Yes. I've
had years of grinding it out, and there's something to be said when you're getting your business off the ground. There is work involved. Mm-hmm. But at some point in time, we have to be willing to let go of the struggle and let it start to become easy. Like we can no longer lean on that. So that's really what I want for myself. And, the big audacious goal is that one summer we will have the cabin for the entire summer, and not one that has no internet, because that would be unreasonable, because I do need to get some work done. But just thinking like, how nice would it be to put in a few hours of work in the morning and then be out on the lake wakeboarding or down at the dock writing or doing whatever. And because inspiration never comes when we're behind our keyboards. Nope. It comes to us when we're out living. So I have to remember that all the time, to get out, go play, let go of things. The list never ends. So it was phenomenal. The weather was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Probably like the best stretch of weather we've had here all summer. It's not been a super awesome summer. So, and it was just nice. Like it's the 1 week of the year that I get all my boys in one place at the same time. They're unplugged because they have to be. And we just kind of chill out, hang out together. So when you're at the cabin, you do puzzles.
Well, did you get any of that? Mom, did you get any of that the whole time, or were you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're teenagers. But we did have friends of ours were staying at the other end of the lake. So because we had the boat, we were able to go, and, all the boys were able to hang out together. And like I said, we were wakeboarding and tubing and swimming. And so they had lots of interaction, but they were a little bit beside themselves, like in the evening, not knowing what to do with themselves. And I think it's good. I think we need to let ourselves be bored every now and then. That's again where innovation comes from, when people are bored and just staring at each other. We don't like, it's funny, if you leave your phone at home now, which I try and do more often, like I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to leave my phone because nothing is going to happen in the 30 minutes that I'm out for my walk. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing when you start to watch people, how many people have their heads down. Yeah. They're not even paying attention to the beautiful day or what's going on around them. So I don't want to be one of those people. So I value the importance of being connected. I am so grateful for everything the online world gives me, my business, like the opportunities it's brought into my life. And I still have to live my life. I have to be in it. I have to be unplugged. I have to be surrounded by, real people, which is why, the retreat that we attended together was so like, wow, my people in real life. Like I can have coffee with you. That's awesome.
It was so eye-opening. Because, the whole time that we were prepping the 6 months before, in my head, I'm like, this is going to be big. I just kept thinking that, but I didn't know how. And it's funny how just getting back to your roots, basically, it was like the first day of school and meeting new friends, but you had already kind of met them before. And just bringing back to like being in person with someone and just getting to know someone and going on adventures together it's like life-changing. And it's crazy how many experiences are bringing you back more to being a child that make you grow more. I love it.
It's funny because in one of the challenges that I ran, which is now going to be one of my paid programs, one of the exercises that I have people do is to tap into the things that they used to do when they were younger, when their imagination and creativity was on fire, and the things that they just like love to do. Like I always say, we hit those years where it's like we're told to grow up and show up. and everything changes. We get serious. Like life is serious. Like don't play anymore.
Yeah.
You know, build your business, make the money, have the family, have the kids, like put all the ducks in a row. And when we can go back to the things that we used to love doing and tap into that, it brings another layer into our lives, right? Like it's it's so refreshing. Go figure. Right. It was fun being a kid. It was fun for me. So I let those parts of me into my life now and kind of honor them. So I do a lot more art now, and I try and get back to dance, and I love music, and like there's so many more things than just working behind the computer. Yeah. Adventure and having fun and laughing and playing. Like go figure.
Yes.
But we don't put value on them though when we get older, and we have to put value on them because they actually hold all the value.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you said that you bring in an element of play into this new program that you're offering. Do you bring in an element of play into your everyday business, or is it more, I'm going to get my business done and then go play?
It was like, I would love to incorporate more of this in, where it's like focused work in the morning and then off doing my own thing. And I know one of the big blocks that I've come up against is feeling like, well, I can't really go out and play until I'm earning the money that gives me the right to play, right? It's like I'm being lazy or I'm slacking off. Yeah. And the more I kind of lean into, my business grows more and more, the more I allow play to come into my life, the more I allow that downtime and getting away from the computer. Because it was really, the working all the time was really driven by a scarcity mindset and a belief that hard work was going to get me, was going to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, which isn't always necessarily true. So you have to do the work, but really, like, I'm my own boss, and sometimes I'm a really crappy boss. So I do every day. I start my day usually with a workout of some sort, which to me is play. Like being in the gym is play. I know for a lot of people it's not. For me, that's kind of like, what are we going to do today? I try and get out for a walk every day. Of course, I've got my kids, so there's always an element of play. Jake's only 5, my youngest, so you can't not have play with him around. Right. But can I incorporate more? Yeah, I would like to incorporate more. I'd like to have more. I think what it comes down to is, in order for me to have more play, it means that I've got to get really a little bit more disciplined about my work time. So getting instead of the wasted time, if I want more play time, I have to get rid of the wasted time. And that means getting honest with myself about how much time is wasted, as opposed to just setting a timer or something for an hour and a half and saying, this is all I'm working on, and I'm not looking at anything else until this is done. And then, I'm going to go off and do whatever. So, yeah.
Well, and it's crazy because I used to think that taking naps was like wasted time. I was like, oh my God, I'm not getting things done during this time. But now I realize how much it's the scrolling through Facebook, or it's, it's like, oh, this is a stand-up special I haven't seen on Netflix yet. Let's watch that. And it's like napping. Do you nap at all? I feel like you're a go, go, go when you wake up, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay. So busy used to be a real, that was my go-to. That was my default. I was go 24/7 control freak. And I really had to come up against some tough challenges in my personal life to teach me to slow down and to recognize that I was putting a lot of value in the busy and the doing all the time, and that I was really disconnected from being. It took me a long time to really sink into doing nothing is doing something, right? So I would think like a nap, what a waste of time. Like I got shit to do. I don't have time to nap. Like who the hell naps? But now I recognize that those quiet times, that's actually letting my body regenerate. That's giving my brain a break. There's so much value in rest. And when I'm doing too much, I'm usually not doing anything at all. So I tend to not be a huge napper, but I will say that now when I'm tired, I rest. So, if I wake up in the morning and I check in with my body and I'm tired, I don't go to the gym. I don't do the workout, and I don't care. And I don't pull out the, oh, you're being lazy or muscle through it. You got to suck it up and get it done. Like, I don't buy into any of that crap anymore. It's just not how I live my life. And like I said, I love the gym. Naps I'll take. If I'm tired, I'll go lay down in the day. I quite often will have a bath in the middle of the day, which that for a while was like, oh, look at me. Isn't this indulgent? Like having a bath in the middle of the day.
But but it's necessary.
It's necessary.
Oh,
And
that sounds great.
yeah, like we have to give ourselves those moments and not judge them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I run my own business. I get to do whatever I need to do. And that's part of my self-care. And the truth is, when I'm in the tub, I can't do it. I can't multitask. You can't multitask when you're in the bathtub. So part of it is removing right? If I lie down to nap, I can still reach over and do this. I can still pick up a book. When I'm in the bath, I really have to just be present and be still. That's what it's about for me. So I know my weak spots, and I do what I can to not play the game with myself, so to speak. Right. Multitask.
A bath sounds so great. That's one of the things whenever we moved last, because we're in an apartment right now.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't wait to have my own bathtub. And there's no tub in this apartment. So I'm like, next time we move, I need a tub. And no one here gets it. I don't know what they're just like, oh, why would you want to just sit in water? And I'm like, but I'm also a pool girl and a hot tub girl, and I need my bath. So I envy you. And indulgent is fine. It's not indulgent in a bad way. It's not like I just ate that whole pan of brownies indulgent. It's a necessary.
Even that's not bad. Even that's not bad. It's just a choice, right? Like, yeah, there's no judgment around it. Mm-hmm. Right? Indulgence is not a bad thing unless we attach a judgment to it.
That's true.
That's what it comes down to. It's a choice. Why I said it felt indulgent for me, because I had to work through the pieces of me that were saying, like, who are you to do this? Yes. And feeling guilty about it, and recognizing that I had attached judgment and rules to how I believed my day should be run. Mm-hmm. And when I stripped that away, that's why I talk about it with clients and say, oh, isn't it indulgent? Because that's what I'm trying to do, is pull out the judgments that they're carrying about their own lives and their own behaviors, and just say, well, what if it's not wrong? What if it's not bad? Mm-hmm. What if it's exactly what you need? And stop judging yourself for wanting it.
It's all up here. All up there.
It's all up there. You betcha.
So you have 2 teenagers and a 5-year-old. Is school about to start?
No. So it's interesting. I was thinking about this, right? Like, we all kind of run on schedules. We make assumptions about, well, this isn't a good time to talk about a program, or this isn't a good time to launch this, or, business, blah, blah, blah. And I know that in the States, there's a lot of kids that are heading back to school. We don't go back to school until Labor Day. It's September.
Good.
So July and August are months off. And here in Vancouver, July and August are probably our sunniest months. Mm-hmm. Although the weather hasn't been super awesome this summer. So yeah, no, we've got another 3 or 4 weeks with the kids being off. Jake starts kindergarten this year. So that's like a huge, huge, cool, not cool thing. It's interesting because grief showed up for me. I'll just call it that, because that's what it was. Grief around my older kids getting older, because that window of them kind of being under my wing or in my house, so to speak, it's growing shorter. So, and I think a lot of parents don't talk about this. They can shift into control, or, there's a whole bunch of different things that parents do to try and avoid how they're feeling. And I don't in my life. And yeah, it was recognizing, wow, I've got a kid going into grade 11. So he's literally got like 2 more years in school, and then he's going to be, joining the adult world. And even now, where they're at, we're still a close family, but they've got their own lives. They've got their own friends. They've got lots of stuff that goes on that I am not privy to, nor should I be. Right? So we can't know everything about our kids. My parents didn't know everything about me, and that's cool. But there's some grief that goes along with that, knowing that my babies are definitely getting bigger and spreading their wings more and more. And then on the other hand, I've got Jake, my little, who now is just starting to go back into school, and recognizing, like, even though this time I was really much more present with him than I ever was with the other 2 when they were younger, the time still has just flown by. And yeah, every now and then I get those moments of wishing I could just kind of hit the pause button.
Mm-hmm.
That's why those weeks of vacation are so important for me, because that's my pause button where I just get to be with my family. We all slow down and come together. So it'll be an interesting year. Kindergarten is all about, it's the first time really that you don't get a choice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, pick the school, but you don't get to pick their teacher, right? Whereas when they go to preschool, you kind of find the preschool that fits and the teacher you like. You don't get to pick the kids in the class, which we didn't at preschool either. And honestly, I'm not a control freak that way. But kindergarten and school is a whole different ball game, right? It really is them going into a whole new, ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
new challenges, new, different personalities, the whole 9 yards. So, but I've maneuvered it before. I will do it again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Again.
Oh my gosh. Well, and is it like starting fresh for you, or are you just like, I've got this? Or is it kind of like brand new almost?
I don't think I've ever heard a parent say, I've got this, ever.
That's true.
And no parent ever.
Mm-hmm.
Parenting Jake has been a completely different experience from parenting my other two. I can genuinely say that. When my other two were young, I really wasn't present. I had a lot of insecurity about being a mom, but I didn't recognize that that's where the emotion was coming from. So I really threw myself into my work and my business, and just wasn't present with them. Like, I can look back and I have, I don't really even remember them being little. Now, they were only 20 months apart. So any parents who have, young kids, I know you and your sister were a twin, there's a certain element of like survival mode to go into as parents. Because there's a lot, like 2 kids, there's a lot of stuff to do. And, the emotions, and they're feeding off each other. And the emotion of being a parent is a whole different ball game. So I really kind of, I can look back now and call myself a dragon mommy. I've had to do a lot of forgiveness work around, wishing I could have done better or known better, but I didn't know what I didn't know then. And
Right.
It wasn't until much later on in my life that I had to discover kind of what was making me tick and where that was all coming from for me. So with Jake, I've really had an opportunity to parent it again in a whole different way, in a much more present way, in a way where I really know myself and I know what I need. I know what I'm capable of. I don't expect him to behave a certain way, so I'll feel a certain way,
Right.
which is how I was with my other two, right? Like, if they could just behave, then I would feel better. It was never about them behaving. It was just, I didn't feel good as a mom. I judged myself against other moms. I was just really, really hard on myself. So it has been really nice with Jake, just letting myself be a good parent. And that doesn't mean a perfect parent, but it's no longer the BS around, I should be this, or I should be that way. Or the truth is, I actually prefer older kids to younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a much better mom to a teenager than I am to a toddler, because I struggle. Like, I don't want, please don't make me get down on the floor and play trains. Right. But, I remember having a mom that I met in one of my groups. And this was, when I was going through some big stuff in my life, and her son ended up ODing and he died. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, like, I wish I could go back in time and get down on the floor and play with my kids. And it was that real reminder to, like, there's always going to be time for busy and doing. And it comes back to the beginning of our conversation around playing and being present. And so as much as I don't love doing that stuff, I still prefer parenting older kids. I value and appreciate it more. I don't look at it as being a nuisance. Whereas with my other kids, I was like, can you play with yourself? you can just figure it out on your own. I got stuff to do. So, like, entertain yourself, because I have the world to change. Mm-hmm. And now with Jake, it's just kind of, I may not love getting down on the floor, but I can definitely appreciate the time well spent and the value in it. And looking for things as well that him and I can do together that I'll enjoy too, right? Like yesterday I had him at an outdoor concert. So he was enjoying the music. We were up dancing around, all the other parents are just sitting there and me and Jake are dancing around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's finding the things that I love and he loves. And
Yes.
I'm not always going to love playing trains, but his dad will love playing trains.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe his dad will love playing trains, right? So, yeah.
Hopefully he'll love playing trains.
One of us has to love playing trains.
It's boys, I think. Were your two older ones, did they go through their train phase as well? My brother did. Hardcore. They didn't? Did they have a car phase more so than trains?
Trucks.
Okay.
I had my kids close together on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my controlling mind, I was going to have them back to back. They were going to be best friends. They were going to play on the same sports teams together, which was going to make my life easier.
Right.
And everything was just going to be like rosy, right? They go to school back to back. They couldn't be more different from each other.
I always hear people talking about 5-year plans, even in business, mainly in business, but they also like, well, I'm going to get married and then I'm going to have kids back to back. And, we're going to have them real quick and then they'll be out of the house by 18 and things just don't go as planned.
It gives us this sense of control if we can paint the picture of what we think the future is going to be. But the truth is we can never paint the picture of what the future can be. Mm-hmm. And when we're trying to predict the future, it means that we're not really grounded in the present. And I don't have any expectations for the future for my boys, for what, there's things obviously that I would love for them to do and have, but the truth is those are my things. Mm-hmm. And they might not necessarily be my kids' things. And I've had to do a lot of work around just letting go and, being willing to just kind of roll with whatever comes, because the part of my life where I did believe I could manipulate or control what was coming or the outcome, it always left me like dumbfounded, like, well, that didn't go as planned. Right. So I just don't anymore.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to your business, do you ever do plans like that? Initially, when I started my business, I hear, these are the steps you have to take. I hear, and everyone's steps are different because everyone's journey is different. And then I get to where I'm at now, where I'm a little more relaxed and things are coming more, not easy, but with ease for me. And it's great, but I still don't have that 5-year plan. I still don't have that 10-year plan. I have hopes, but I want to know from you, what have you gone through in that area?
That's a really fantastic question, because I've never had a plan, and I've been an entrepreneur for well over a decade now. So I think like most entrepreneurs, we start our businesses and we don't really know what the hell we're doing. And it just kind of naturally evolved, right? Like I started my business in a gym, and then that gym wouldn't let me train there anymore. This was when I was a personal fitness coach. So then I moved my studio at home into my basement, and then outgrew that. So then I moved into a shared studio space with somebody, and then I didn't outgrow that, but we were kind of on top of each other a little bit. An opportunity came up for me to get my own studio. So I was like, okay, let's do that. Then I opened the second one. Then I closed both of those down. Then I opened a ginormous studio. And then, after 5 years of that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to move my business online. During which that whole time I was, there were other things that were coming up. I was getting more and more into nutrition. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I started building out that program. Like there was no plan. Like it just kind of naturally evolved. Now, when I moved my business online, the first year totally kicked my ass, like in all senses of the word, because I never realized that I was starting a new business in essence. I was just like, well, I'm taking what I'm doing live and I'm just putting it online. So I moved my live classroom into a virtual classroom, recorded all the modules, and just kind of expected that things would just keep happening. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. So that was an eye-opener. And the other thing is, when I moved my business online, I suddenly felt like I was getting everything wrong. Like I was doing it wrong, because all of a sudden it seemed like all these rules showed up. Whereas I had completely run my business in the past purely from, I guess, intuition, instinct. Like I never asked somebody, hey, should I open up the studio? Hey, should I do this? It was just like, yeah, I think I'm going to do this. And I would do it. And I've always been successful. So that was really challenging for me. So, you get someone like me versus someone like, say, an Adrienne Dorson, who's an online business manager, and she's very good at laying out 90-day plans and following the structure. Like that's her backbone, and that's how she rolls. And I'm very much learning to value and appreciate the focus and the structure that comes from that. But only now is my business at a place where I'm willing to really grow up and be a CEO and build a business that's going to be profitable long term. That's going to, I want a sustainable business over the long term. But, prior to that, it was just kind of about growing this thing that I loved. And, so I have to give myself a lot of high fives for what I built and what I accomplished all by myself. But recognizing that, they say what's going to get you to the next step isn't going to be the thing that brought you to this step. So I think for every entrepreneur listening, it's really important to know when you need help, but don't discount that everything you've been doing is wrong. When you do need to get to that 3-year, 5-year, 90-day plan, whatever it's going to be, like, trust that you'll evolve and you'll learn into that, right? Like, I'm learning now that there's a lot of things that I could have done better, but this is the way I did it. So how do I now move forward with a clearer path? I don't have a 5-year plan. I do have big, audacious goals. I do know that, right? Like, I've got, my program, my signature nutrition program is really $1 million program. So it is my responsibility to get that out into the world and to get the women who need my work into that program. So is that part of my 5-year plan? Hell yes.
Yes.
That's my role on this planet. Is my 5-year plan to continue to grow my one-to-one coaching with entrepreneurs, right? Busy hustlers without making the hustle wrong,
right.
But bringing my experience of what it means to soften the edges of that so that they can really have a great life. Do I want to build out that in the 5 years? Yes. Do I know what else is coming down the track? No. I've got a lot more personal things that I want to accomplish. I want to do a lot more traveling. I want a lot more freedom and play in my business. I don't want to have to work as hard or as much. I'm ready to step into this place of letting things be easier, but it's taken a long time to get there, and it's taken a lot of mindset work. So I'm trying to get more sunk into this idea of 90-day goals and really staying focused on one thing, because I can see the value of it. And in part, it's what I'm teaching my clients. Like, you got to stay focused and do the work so you can learn, so you can let go more. But I don't know if I will ever have a strategic 5-year plan. To me, that almost feels restrictive, which is odd. And then I'm not a big fan of, like, when I set goals, I like to follow through on them. 5 years just seems too much for me. Give me a year.
Like there's too much that can happen in those 5 years. Like, you can't be like, oh, in this 90 days, I'm going to do this all the way up to 5 years. It doesn't make sense to me personally. But everyone works differently. So I was curious.
And I think that as your business grows and it gets bigger, right? I think that I could see where you would maybe pull in like 5-year goals. Okay, we're at this and we want to expand the business to this and we want X more number of employees. I just personally am not there yet. That seems it's too big of a container for my mindset to currently hold. And that's okay. I'm going to work within a year frame. I think one of the biggest things that I had to work on, that I encourage a lot of the women that I work with to do, is to celebrate how much I'm actually getting done. Right? So I'm avoiding this 5-year plan, but am I really acknowledging how much I've gotten done in a year? Because as the saying goes, we tend to overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in 3. So it's really important for me at the end of every year to reflect over the year and say, what did I really get done this year? And it's usually tons, and a lot more than I thought possible, which then allows me to dream a little bit bigger and expand a little bit bigger for the next years and think about, okay, well, what would 3 years look like? So it's not a firm business plan, but it is what if this was possible to have happen in the next 3 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
Strategist is not my forte.
No. And I know that a piece of that, though, needs to be there somewhere in the business. I do like 90 days. Like, that's something that I've really held on to recently, and really not just held on to, but like been able to grow with. Because it wasn't something before. I was just like, oh, okay, I can plan 90 days, but I wasn't being very strategic with it. And you have to be strategic with those 90 days, and then be like, okay, well, in the next 90 days, I'd like to do this, but I'll get to the planning of that later in these 90 days, and not doing all of the things
Yeah, doing all of the things. Well, and I think that for people like you and I,
Mm-hmm.
this is why it's important for us to have those people who do have the strategist brain and bring them into our businesses, because doing all the things or not doing all the things means that we stop trying to do the things that really aren't our strengths, and laying out 90-day, 1 year, 5-year goals. Those aren't my strengths.
Right.
And I'm in my business. Whereas somebody who's a strategist, somebody who's outside my business, who's not emotionally attached to it the same way I am, they're much able to paint that clearer picture. And one of the things I love about working with, my coaches is that they're able to kind of give me some ballparks for goals. And yeah, I totally think this is something you could accomplish, right?
Mm-hmm.
They plant the seed for what's possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really powerful. So I don't expect myself to be a 3-year or 5-year planner, but I do expect myself to seek help from people who can bring that into a vision for me.
Mm-hmm.
But also have it be flexible as well.
Right.
That's life. Just like raising kids, right?
Right. So you work out almost every day.
Mm.
Do you ever fall off that wagon? Do you ever feel like you're falling off that wagon? Or is that just so ingrained in you at this point?
Okay. So there's no wagon.
Okay.
So this is a big deal for me. And it comes to food and exercise, because I hate this bullshit. There's no wagon. Like we stop, we take a break, chill out at the side of the road, whatever, and then get back up and start walking again. So do I take breaks? Absolutely. Like there's periods during the year, and I can almost name them like clockwork, where I'm just like, I'm not getting out of bed. Again, it's listening to my body. But I also know, like, I love exercise. So I don't question whether or not I'll get back to it, because it's just part of what I love to do, right? Like if you love to dance, if you didn't dance for 2 weeks, it doesn't mean you're never going to dance again. Of course you're going to dance again, because you're inspired to dance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inspired to exercise. I love how it makes me feel. So what that looks like, though, always changes. Sometimes it's, higher intensity. Sometimes it's lower intensity. Like I can't do the things today that I used to do, but that doesn't mean I'm not capable of other things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't ever fall off the wagon. In terms of healthy eating, I don't believe in taking a break from a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't stop showering. I wouldn't stop brushing my teeth.
Right.
So why would I stop eating healthy? Like that is physical and emotional hygiene for me, right? People don't understand that the foods that they put in their body impact their emotional well-being. Like some foods can actually make you like crazy, squirrely crazy. So I don't take a vacation from that. It doesn't mean that I don't open up the gates a little bit wider at certain times, right? Like Breckenridge, we're all in the candy store together. I'm like, oh my God, I totally love candy. So It's not that I don't eat those things. I just never look at it as I'm on or I'm off.
Right.
Everything I do in my life is choice, and choice is about yes or no, not should or shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no. Do I want this? Yes or no. And then move on instead of making it a thing.
Yeah.
My exercise and my eating healthy as well has nothing to do with there's no purpose attached to it. So a lot of people attach, I'm eating healthy because I'm trying to change my body. I'm exercising because I'm trying to change my body, right? I'm not attached to that. I do those things because they make me feel good. So that's where people get stuck. That's where people get this on and off the wagon mentality, because they're really attached to what they're trying to achieve. They're attached to the outcome instead of how it's making them feel. And that's what creates this perpetual kind of hamster wheel. So yeah, there's no wagon. Just stop, take a break, get up, move again. I have all my clients reflect on the things in their lives that they're doing when they feel the best. So what things are you doing when you were like if you go back to the moment in time in your life where you were like the happiest and you felt the most awesome, what were you doing? Were you playing a lot? Were you exercising? Were you eating well? Like what were you doing to contribute to that? And do those things. Like do those things. And if you're feeling like shit and you're looking around and you're not doing those things, then it's your responsibility. So those should be non-negotiables in your life. They should be mandatory self-care items, not about trying to make something happen other than you feel good. That's what you're trying to make happen. I am committed to living a life where I feel my best every day, where I'm showing up feeling awesome, and then go do those things. So I don't care if it's, maybe you're not a worker outer. That's cool. What is your thing then? What is your thing? And go do those things, because there's no rules here. You don't have to exercise. And I'll just continue on this round.
Love it.
Healthy eating and exercise have nothing to do with each other. Nothing to do with each other. Don't marry those two. That is where people get screwed. They start exercising, they start eating well, great. And then they stop exercising. Guess what happens to their food? It goes out the window. You have to eat until the day you die, until the day they put you in the ground. You have to put food in your body. What you put in your body determines your quality of life. It determines how well you heal. If you get injured, it determines your emotional state. Everything, right? Everything. Garbage in, garbage out. So when you start to look at healthy eating as just, like I said, being a hygiene part of your life, as opposed to it having anything to do with exercise, it takes on a whole new flair. Exercise is the bonus. It's the cherry on top. Yeah. There may be long periods in your life you can't exercise, but if you've attached it to healthy eating, then you're screwed if you get injured, because you really won't have the inspiration to eat healthy if you can't move. So yeah, I get a little ranty pants on that, because I see it happening all the time. And even from a changing your body standpoint, you can change your body composition and not exercise. Like it's a bonus.
Like,
I just flew off my whistle.
I guarantee you so many people are thinking, no way.
I've had to go on stage for international competitions when I was doing fitness and figure, and I've been injured and I wasn't able to train, but I still had a deadline of when I had to get on stage. So your nutrition really trumps all. I know there's that, nutrition is 80% and exercise is 20 or whatever. I don't even want them put together, because really one has nothing to do with each other. They're complementary. It's like in your marriage, right? You get to be an individual person. You still show up as Erin. You've got your loves, the things you do, but nothing to do with your husband. But you get to come together and celebrate the time together, but you still have to remain your own unique individual. That's how we have to treat exercise and healthy nutrition. They complement each other. They're great, they're great when they come together, but they are just as powerful when they're standing on their own, right? It's kind of like that, one oak tree can't grow in the shade of another oak tree. Each have to have their separate space, and each have to be just as strong and powerful. Creating a healthy lifestyle isn't about eliminating those foods. It's literally about stepping into your power of choice and letting go of the judgment. So don't make pizza bad. Don't make it wrong, but be conscious about it. Do we really want to eat this? Yes or no? And then move the hell on, right? Because the next meal, you have another opportunity to make another choice. So when you just start making choices that really are attached to, how do I want to feel? Is this going to make me feel better? Is this going to move me towards what I want for myself? Is this, is this going to help me become the person that I want to be? Because like I said, you got to eat till you die. So if you don't create a healthy relationship with food in your body, you're going to constantly be perpetuating that belief of that wagon being there. And that's just years of, we've been so programmed around dieting. We've been so programmed to on or off. I would encourage you and your husband to sit down and write out the stories that you believe to be true about healthy eating and dieting and exercise and what it means to eat healthy, because I guarantee you there is some crap there. Like, healthy eating is no fun. Healthy eating is deprived. Healthy eating means we can't do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, it's boring. Nobody will want to hang out with us. Da 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 da. Right? Like, you spent a week with me. Was I boring? Did you care what I put in my mouth? Like, did what I eat impact you in any way?
No.
None. Right?
I mean, kind of. Like, it helped me eat better.
It doesn't matter.
It showed me some awesome recipes for that week. I was like, okay. I came home and I bought flax oil to put on my salad. And I was like so excited about that.
Right?
So
simple things. That's it. And it'll make a huge difference in your life. Huge. So that's good.
You are so funny, because every time I talk to you, we've met in person a couple of times now. Every time I talk to you, it's not like I'm fully trying to have just a conversation with you, but your conversations are like meaningful in every facet of the term. I always leave our conversations, not leaving it now, trust me. But I always leave our conversations thinking, wow, like so much value. Like I wish, I hope to one day be able to give that much value in all of my conversations. And you truly are an example of how there is no work-life balance, how it's both all the time. It's how you operate, and I love it. And it's not oh, I have to work, or oh, I have to talk about this if it comes up. It's just a natural thing for you. And that's nuts. I know so many people who, including myself, who in the beginning of my business building journey, I was just like, well, I have to do this, or I'm going to start with this because I know I'm good at it. Not necessarily that I like it or that it's any other part of me. And I've had to evolve from there. Did you start out doing that, or was there an evolution there where you were like really trying to find work-life balance? Or
being a coach, and coach is such a broad term. That is only a label that I've probably really stepped into over the past year and a half. I really always hid behind kind of what I taught as opposed to who I was. And I don't show up on these calls thinking, well, I'm going to say something profound. Like, that's just not. I don't know how to have surface level conversations. That's not who I am. And I'm not going to try to. So there's a lot of things that I'm passionate about. I don't filter myself the same way that I used to. I boldly talk about the things that I want to talk about now, and let myself have an opinion. It's definitely been an evolution. See, I don't even think about work-life balance. Like, sometimes I never talk about food. And quite honestly, like, food is one part of what I talk about when I'm passionate about, but ultimately at the end of the day, like, food is just a symptom, just like being busy all the time and hustling is a symptom, right? It's masking other stuff. So I can talk to you about food till I'm blue in the face, but it's really never about the food. It's always about the emotions. So that, for me, I had to go through my own emotional transformation, so to speak. That's really what it was. So now I can't not have those type of conversations with people. Like, it's just not possible for me, because I don't like bullshit. When I see it in somebody else, and sometimes I bite my tongue, because people don't, I'm not here on this planet so that every person I have a conversation with, like, to show up as a coach. Like, that's not, but I get to show up as me, and I get to say this, I get to say the thing that need to be said. So I'm glad that my words have an impact on people. Like, what an amazing gift I've been given, that I get to impact people every single day of my life. Like,
and that you choose to.
That's pretty cool.
Like, maybe it's not even a choice at this point. I feel like it's just you.
It's just me.
And that's awesome, because choice is such a huge deal in all of our lives, when it comes to food, when it comes to exercising, when it comes to business building. And I feel like a lot of people don't recognize the choice, and then, like, treat themselves as a victim later on when they're like, oh, my business has failed, or, I gained 20 pounds, or whatever it is. And I just feel like with you have this innate gift that is, you just do. That there are choices, but you just do. And it's freaking amazing. Like, I am in awe every time I'm talking to you.
A life uncensored. It really wasn't. It wasn't that way. It really wasn't that way for a very, very long time. I hid behind a lot of insecurities. I wouldn't have been able to, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to own or receive those type of compliments. I would try and deflect it like a ninja warrior. So there's been a lot of growth, personal growth and personal work that I've had to do in order to step into that and just, like really be okay with who I am and not try and, not say the things or not have the conversations because I'm worried about what somebody will think about me.
Right.
Right. If that makes sense. So, and I think a lot of people do that. They don't fully let themselves be totally unleashed because, they look around and not everybody's having conversations like this, right? Like I get that not everybody has conversations like I have conversations. And sometimes maybe people don't want to hang out with me because I'm never going to be the light, fluffy, no depth conversation. That's just not me. That's okay.
That's not real connection.
Like you don't have no, but you know what? Like you don't have to hang out with me then. You're not my people. And I'm okay with that. Whereas in the past it was kind of like trying to conform to fit in. I don't want to fit in anymore. So people know when they have a conversation with me, it doesn't matter whether I'm on a coaching call or I'm connecting with somebody that I've never met before, they're going to get to know me intimately and I'm going to say the things to them. And sometimes people are really kind of taken aback by that because they're like, oh, I didn't expect this to be a coaching call. And I'm like, this isn't a coaching call. This is just who I am. This is how I operate. So if I see something and I think it's of value to you, why the hell wouldn't I share it? Oh, because you're not giving me money? That's just not how I roll. Like, it's just not how I roll. I get paid very well to do what I do, and I value and appreciate all the clients that I have the amazing opportunity to work with. And when I'm just out in there in the world, I'm still doing this thing. So
I love it. And I think that a lot of us can learn from you in that regard. And it's not just entrepreneurs that I want to tune in, especially with this, with conversations with you. I feel like we should just have a show called Conversations with Lisa, because so many people can learn. Like you've talked about motherhood, you've talked about just insecurities in general and mindset work. And a lot of people, like when I was in my corporate job, I knew nothing of any of this. It wasn't until I was diving into this online community and really just trying to take in all that I could initially that I was introduced to a lot of this stuff. And a lot of people, when I mention mindset work, online coaching, anything, they think I'm nuts. Like I've said so many times before our retreat, my husband totally thought I'd met a bunch of potential weirdos on like AOL chat.
And you did. And you did.
I did. My weirdos though. It wasn't the weirdos, which is good. But I had no doubt in my mind. He's like, you just like threw money and you threw money at this thing and you're meeting people you've never met before. But I'm not crazy. And I love being able to show people that none of this is crazy. And I'd love for not just the online entrepreneurs, I'd love for other people to just hear your message and know that they have more, not control over their lives, but they are more powerful than they realize. And it's time for everyone to step into that power, regardless of what it is. Not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone's meant to be a bodybuilder. But each of us have our own mission or missions, and we need to step into them.
And that's what it comes down to, is what I do gives me the opportunity to connect with other people, help them connect with themselves. And that's really what my transformation was all about, was recognizing that I was completely disconnected from myself, my life. I didn't recognize all the things where I was holding myself back in my own world. I didn't even get that. So, in the online world, we see so many people opening up and being vulnerable and sharing themselves. So it's become kind of like, well, isn't this what everybody does? Mm-hmm. But it's not what everybody does, right? There's a lot of people walking around, leading busy lives, feeling resentful, feeling guilty, feeling shameful. Mm-hmm. And they don't like you said, they don't even recognize that they have absolute control over their lives. And when I say control, it's not about being controlling. It's understanding that we actually get to create the lives we want for ourselves based on the choices that we make, based on how we think and feel about ourselves and what we want to have transform in our lives. So whenever anybody says to me, well, I can't do that. Well, you can, but what do you have to stop doing to make that happen? What things in your life do you have to change? What things do you have to put down? What things do you have to get curious about and explore? Because the truth is you can. Like, there was once upon a time where I said, like, I can't be on video. I couldn't be on video. My entire business now runs on me being on video and having an online presence and running online courses. But there was a period of time where I couldn't even stand in front of a camera. Like, because I had so many insecurities about it. I had insecurities about how I looked. I had insecurities about my voice. I would pick apart every facial expression. I would pick apart every word I've said. I just don't anymore. But that took time and work and a peeling back of the layers. And I'm no different than anybody else out there. Right. I was willing to show up for myself in a different way. I was willing to put in the work. I was willing to be messy, be emotional, work with coaches, work with therapists, stay engaged in my life, because I knew what I wanted for myself. I still know what I want for myself. So even with not having a 5-year plan, do I know what I want in my life? Absolutely. Am I willing to compromise on any of it? No. Does it mean I'm going to get it? Not 100%. Nothing is a certainty, but at least I know I'm in the driver's seat of my life. And that's, when it comes to the coaching I do with women, whether it's around their businesses or with food, it's really about getting them to recognize that they get to put their hands on the wheel of their life. Right. They get to step into a whole new way of being with food, their bodies, their relationship with their business, their relationship with their family, their relationship with their kids, whatever it may be for them. But they have to be willing to have these conversations and see what shakes out. Stay in the room. So,
right. And it's something that as I've been learning some of these things on my own, number one, it's crazy how much we learn that we then need to unpack and undo later on. And I feel like in conversations with you, there is a lot of unpacking and undoing, or at least an introduction to that. And I wish that everyone could see this, not just, at an earlier age, yes, but in general, because I feel like so many people live their entire lives not in their full power.
Yeah, and full power is really kind of coachy. Like, if you said that to a normal person on the street, they'd be like, what are you talking about?
How do I turn it into, I don't even know how to talk to normal people anymore.
Yeah, like what does that even mean, right? So I have to really watch the coachy speak. But, in general, it comes down to, are people living a life where they're feeling, like I said, resentful, guilty, shameful? They're busy all the time. They're saying yes to everybody when they really want to say no. They don't have any time for themselves. They don't even know where they start and stop in their lives anymore. They look in the mirror and think, who the hell are you? Right. Like, when did you show up? Because you are not the, 20 something that I used to hate on, who now I think was pretty cool. When they're looking around at their lives saying, God, I hate my job, but I feel like I have no way out. I don't know how to escape that. All of these things in our lives, like stepping into our full power, really all it means is saying, like, I want to be happy and I'm not really happy right now. I want more for myself. That's what stepping into your power means. It's really kind of a basic thing around saying, I deserve to have more, but the only person that's going to give that to me is me. So what do I need to start to change? And then, the willingness to be curious and start unpacking things. So for somebody, it may be really simple. Like, if they're a people pleaser and they're saying yes all the time and they have no time for themselves, looking at and saying, okay, well, you know what? I know that I want to start exercising because I feel really, really good when I exercise, but I don't have time in my schedule right now. Okay, well, to make that time, who do I need to say no to? What do I need to say no to? What do I need to give up? Okay, I need to give up this volunteer time because that's going to be my gym time. But the key is the willingness to be with the discomfort of saying no,
Mm-hmm.
to be with the discomfort of what will they think?
Yeah.
I feel guilty because that was volunteer time. And now I'm taking from them, but realizing we're never taking from anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
giving to ourselves. And the more we give to ourselves, the more we're able to give back to everybody else. So it's really just, that's what taking back your power is. It's looking at the things in your life that just aren't working,
Mm-hmm.
saying, what needs to change here? And then starting from there. And it's literally baby steps. And that's cool.
Yeah. But also realizing that what changes you make, it's not the end all be all. You're like constantly going to be changing. If you go through and decide that this volunteer work is actually really weighing on you and it's something that was really a part of you can jump back in and read.
That's right.
And a lot of people think that, for instance, when I thought to myself, man, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna start my own business. That doesn't mean that down the road my changes that happen to me won't lead me back into a corporate world. Doesn't mean it will happen. But like, I don't have to be like, well, this is the end. I need to sit on this decision forever, it's just make the decision that feels right and reassess.
It's kind of like, when we said when I said there's no wagon, there's no doors either. Like, you're not closing a door on anything. Mm-hmm. You might be stepping through an opening, but you can go back.
Right.
It might look different, but you can go back. We have this belief that it's like everything, we just kind of, it doesn't work that way. Life is like a jigsaw puzzle, and you're allowed to move all over, or more like a chessboard, right? You're allowed to move up, down, and sideways. Yeah. There's no right or wrong way. And I think that that's what I want people to know. Like, you can't get your life right or wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't. As much as you want to believe, like, wow, I totally effed that up. How am I going to undo that? You can't get it wrong. So even if you think you made a misstep, you made the exact right step that had to happen for whatever is coming next. And when you start to embrace that more, that's when you recognize that life is really happening for you and not to you. And that changes everything, because it's a completely different perspective shift. Same thing, different perspective. And I have never forgotten, I was in a coaching session with my coach, and it was I was in one of those moods, the moods where you're just like, you want to be in the pissy state. Like, you want to be in the tantrum. You're in total resistance. There is no other perspective. And she literally had sticky notes stepped on the floor, and and she would drag me around to the sticky notes depending on what came out of my mouth, because that was reflecting a perspective. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'd be like, but I want to be back there. She's like, well, you're talking like you want to be here. And she literally dragged me around the room. And I've given a lot of thought to perspective, right? Because we get to choose that. Like, the mountain is the mountain, regardless. It's standing there. It's not moving. It's a mountain. You can stand at the bottom of the mountain and look up, and you're going to see one view, right? Scenic, blue sky, whatever. And you can stand at the top of the mountain and have a completely different perspective, the valleys and the other mountains in the distance and whatnot. Same freaking mountain. Mm-hmm. We always have a choice of how we look at every single thing in our lives. And we always have the opportunity to change that perspective at any given moment to serve us. So if your current perspective isn't serving you, if you're not happy, how do you need to look at something differently? What opportunities are there? And then make that shift and see what happens. And if you don't like that perspective, change it again. Mm-hmm. Nothing bad happens. Like I said, you cannot get it right or wrong. You can't.
I love that. And I think this is now the part where I want to go into the pivot question.
Oh, no. Okay.
Because you just like everything. You just naturally just wrapped it up and tied it up with a beautiful bow. And I am ready to get you on your toes just a little bit.
Okay. I'm ready.
So just real quick, this is a pivot questionnaire, and it was originally from a French television show, and then they adapted it for Inside the Actor Studio, which is one of my favorite TV shows in the world. So just a random set of questions, just whatever comes to mind first.
Okay.
And let's learn a little more about Lisa Carpenter.
Okay.
Okay, number one, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word? I've never even thought of that before. Faith.
Faith, I like it.
Faith. Yeah, that would be my favorite word, faith.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Scarcity.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I would say emotionally and spiritually is deep connection, deep conversation. 100%.
Love it. What turns you off?
Shallow. Shallow people, small talk. Can't do it.
Good. What is your favorite curse word?
Oh God, stuff I've never really thought about, but I guess it would be fuck. Yeah, there you
I
go.
like it.
I don't. So here's the thing. I will swear, like I tend to, curse in my real life when I'm on video, or I tend to edit depending on where I am. And I'm really good at that, where some people can't filter their cursing. I'm super good at filtering in the right scenario.
Yeah. I've gotten pretty good at that as well.
Yeah.
It took some practice, but I have. Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise do I love? It's funny, the first thing that pops into my head is silence.
Yeah.
I really like, like sitting at the lake and it was just quiet every now and then. You get a loon. Oh, it was an amazing sound that I heard, and I never heard this before. It was so quiet there that when a crow flew over your head, you could hear the wind from its flapping wings.
Yes.
That makes sense. Like you could hear this, like, it was the weirdest. I was like, what is that noise? Oh my God, it's the bird. So that was a pretty cool sound. But overall, I love silence.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Screaming kids.
Screaming.
Whining, screaming kids. Yeah. Show me somebody who does like that.
Yeah.
Somebody.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
There was a long period of time where I wanted to be a paramedic.
Is it like completely gone now, or like they're still kind of back there?
I think the adrenaline junkie in me kind of liked it, but now having kids, I don't think that I would necessarily like the gore. I also think it would be fun to just be a bartender on a beach in, a country far away. Even though I don't drink, I just think that would be so fun, serving and talking to tourists all day long and hearing about their story.
Talking part would be wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, if you could pay me for people watching, that would be pretty awesome too. Right? And just serving people. I know.
Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
Anything to do with math or numbers.
And here is the last one. Are you ready?
Okay.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome. That's it. If heaven exists, just welcome. I think that there's lots of different, personally, I believe that we just kind of get reincarnated and show up over and over again in different forms. That's just me, because I believe that we're all just energy and we just kind of get recycled. So maybe it's like, welcome, and how do you want to go back this time?
Thank you so much to Lisa Carpenter for being on the second episode of ChatConnect. You can find out more about Lisa at www.lisacarpenter.ca. More information in the show notes. And thank you again to everyone who tuned in to this episode and continue to tune in week after week. I can't wait for you to see what we have in store for you next week.